welcome to Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary Podcast. This is your host, Scotty B. My next guest this week, in my opinion, is not a strange cosplayer. Hailing from the UK, he has dazzled us with his effects as Doctor Strange, his intellectual prowess as Sherlock, and even Star Trek's ultimate nemesis Khan. Though he considers himself new to cosplay, he has shocked the internet with his ability to recreate Benedict Cumberbatch completely in any role. A humble artist and performer, he handles his fame across social media with grace, with over 2.5 million likes on TikTok alone, 300,000 followers in a very, very short time, and still with all of this manages to balance work and family. Please welcome to the podcast, always on his imitation game, the Cumbermatch.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
It feels like this is your life.
Well, I do try to pile it on a little bit heavy in the intros, just to give you some context. And you do work so hard to create what you do. And I guess where I like to start with the guest casts are just your backstory, your origin story. Everybody loves the origin story, especially with Doctor Strange. I mean, it's one of my favorites. But your origin story. So you did this all start for you at a wedding? Was that kind of where?
Not quite. So it started maybe like a year ago, really. People have said over the last couple of years that I look like Benedict Cumberbatch, and I never thought anything of it. I remember even like 10 years ago, I was at a stag do, as we call it in the UK, and I got the nickname Sherlock. Even back then and up until last year, I thought nothing of it. I didn't think I looked anything like him, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't see it. And then one day I was walking through London and someone actually stopped me in the street and said, "Excuse me, are you Benedict Cumberbatch?" And also very shortly after that, several people said, "Oh, do you know who you remind me of?" So there was a number of events where people kept saying I looked like him. And I thought, well, maybe I do. And I had seen Doctor Strange at this point, and even after watching that, I didn't think I looked like him. But when I started doing sort of makeup tests and tried to look like him, I thought, particularly as Doctor Strange, I think there is a resemblance here. So I took a few pictures, and I showed friends who encouraged me. So it was mainly sort of work friends that encouraged me to do this. And I bought the costume, took some photos, and I was at a work night out, and someone was talking to a couple that had just been to a Marvel event in London. And he called me over and I said, "Come over here, Pete, come over. Show them your photos." And the look on their face, they were in shock. And they said, "You have to come to our wedding. We're getting married next year. We're having a Marvel themed wedding and we need you." And they asked if I had any photos on Instagram or anything. And I said I hadn't done anything yet. And they said, "You've got to do it. You have to do it." So that night, I got back home fairly late, having had a few drinks on this work night out. And I started up the Cumbermatch Instagram site and Twitter site and Facebook group, and went around trolling Benedict Cumberbatch fan sites.
This was the research mode.
Yes.
At the beginning, finding out everything you could. No, that's amazing. And to be honest, I didn't even know that you had a wig for the outfit to begin with. I thought you were just coloring. It was all makeup. That's what I thought. I had no idea. I'm like, wow, it's just everything is so uncannily accurate with everything that you do. So there was a lot of planning, and there was a lot of motivation to really get everything dialed in pretty perfectly. And you started with Doctor Strange, but you kind of branched out from there. Was that all at the beginning too, when you set up and you kind of started doing everything green screen? Did you have all of that in mind, or did you think, well, I'll just try it out and we'll see what happens?
Well, I think it was mainly Doctor Strange I was going for, because I really thought that he looked like me dressed as Doctor Strange. But then when I started experimenting with the other characters, I thought, well, actually, I can kind of pull him off in all these different characters, and I could have some fun with this. So I've gradually bought more and more costumes, bits and pieces for the outfits. Sherlock's a dead easy one for me to do. I just whack on a wig and the coat and a scarf. Job done.
So I love the video. There's a video of you walking through London. So you're in the underground,
yes,
if I recall correctly, watching the video, and you're just kind of passing everybody by, and some people are kind of like, wait, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. But I just think it's just such a great video, and it does pay a lot of it very easily mimics the show. If anybody's seen the show, you've obviously probably seen a few episodes of the new version of Sherlock. Love the cast, and that's it took a little while for me to get kind of warmed up to it because I was used to a Basil Rathbone version of Sherlock.
Yes.
From many years ago. Watched it growing up. Just loved
same here.
Loved how he did it. But now you have this fun. I mean, and then you kind of started mixing them together too. So you have duos with yourself on TikTok, which I love, and they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to watch. Just the interactions with the different characters. So Sherlock and Doctor Strange together, doing
that's a great thing about cosplay. The great thing about TikToks is that I can put myself in any situation I want. I can do duets with DC characters, for example, because that's not going to happen on the big screen. So why not have a bit of fun with it? And that's what it's all about for me. It's about having fun. I get bored very quickly with doing the same things again and again. So to have some fun with it, I have a little play around. I've been recording some TikToks tonight, and I was doing some TikToks to the voice of Homer Simpson. Again, just for a bit of fun, and because you'd never see that on the big screen. I don't know how they'll go down. We'll soon see.
I'm sure they will be very well done. Really, it'll be magnificent. The choices are always excellent. I think that it's noteworthy. The attention that you receive on TikTok is absolutely dead on. I certainly hope that it continues to grow. But now you do collaborations, just in at cons and things like that. MCM London Comic Con being one of the very big ones over in the UK. And I know that you've perhaps described this as exhausting, and I can definitely relate to that. Cons are exhausting.
Yeah.
And there's so much you have to do. You have to, just getting into costume, I think it's probably about, an hour and a half or 2 hours to get everything together in your Doctor Strange costume.
Yeah. It's got better recently. That's certainly one thing I've worked on is trying to get ready quickly, particularly for TikToks.
For me, it's the boots. I try to I bought a really good, I figured okay, I'll get a pair of boots that I can use for cons so that my feet don't die. And I want to wear them with every cosplay that I come up with now because they're expensive. But I can just imagine just trying to put everything on and get it all just right. And then if there's any sort of modifications that go on in the costume itself. So when you were putting all of this together, how would you like to take us through just the event itself, MCM Comic Con, your first con, and how it just all worked and
I will never forget it. It was an amazing experience. It was only a few weeks really after I started doing this, but it was important for me that I looked as accurate as I could to the character. I guess for me, really starting out when I did this, I didn't think I'm going to be a cosplayer. I'd never heard of the word cosplay. I didn't really know much about Comic Cons. For me, it's more about sort of impersonating Doctor Strange, and to do that, I had to look like him the best possible. So my costume, which I'd bought on eBay, is cheap polyester costume, shipped from China. For me, it wasn't good enough, and so I bought some fabric paints, and I tried to make it look a bit worn, get the colours in the right place. Bought some spray paint for the belt again to make it not look like cheap black plastic, make it look like worn leather. So I worked for a couple of weeks to get the costume up to scratch, find a wig that was a pretty decent wig. Lots of people don't realise that, that it is a wig.
Me included.
That's important to me, trying to look as accurate as possible without the skill set of being able to get out a sewing machine and create my own costumes. So lots of gaffer tape was involved, and magnets and safety pins, but it all holds together. So I got the costume. In fact, I can show you something I made.
Oh,
I made, yes.
Excellent. Okay.
So yes, I have been filming TikToks tonight. I don't usually dress up like this, and
well, no, that's okay.
I didn't do it just for this. I finished recording TikToks not so long ago.
You know, my Ronin jacket's so cool. Like I just like it, so I might just wear it around. I don't. It doesn't make a difference. Like, yeah, it's just my apartment.
Someone actually mentioned tonight. I was doing a live feed on TikTok, and they said, "Have you ever answered the front door to someone dressed in your costume?" And I haven't actually. Every time I put the costume on, I think, I wonder if someone's going to ring the doorbell tonight. But it's not happened yet. And they said, look, you should answer the door dressed as him, and film it, because that would be funny. So maybe one day I work from home, so maybe one day I'll spend the day dressed up as him and take deliveries dressed as him.
Yes, watch the UPS or the Amazon parcel delivery and just
exactly.
the shock.
So yeah, I made this arm wrap as well. The wraps that came with the costume I wasn't happy with, so this was just fabric. I did some plaiting to get the colourful plaits, the right colours, and then stuck it all some gaffer tape and made a big roll, which I can just stick on my arm. So there was some creativity that went into it.
Sure.
And again, that was important for me, because going to my first Comic-Con, and I'd seen all these pictures of some amazing costumes that people had made, and I thought, I don't want to turn up in this bought costume. I want to make an effort and get into the spirit of things. And my two sons, I've got two kids. They are 7 and 5 now.
And that's a handful.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later. But they were keen to get involved as well, particularly the oldest. He wanted to be Black Panther, and I said, well, why don't you make your costume as well? And he had this black thermal underwear that he wore to football training. And I said, that's perfect. You can just paint that with the paints that I've got. You can paint the blue lines on it. And he spent a good afternoon or a good day painting it and getting it ready for the Comic-Con. So yeah, he really got into the spirit of it as well.
No, that's wonderful.
And then yes, we then had to get the train across to the other side of London from where I am. So it was a good hour and a half train journey, dressed in our costumes, all of us. The first time I'd been out in public in my costume. And that's when the cameras started coming out. But once it hit the convention, I couldn't walk anywhere. Literally, I managed to walk to one end of the hall and back again in the space of a few hours.
So they just swarmed. It was. They're like, oh, this is amazing. We have to get pictures.
People were doing like double takes and checking I wasn't really the real Benedict Cumbermatch. And after like half an hour, my oldest son, he was tugging on my cloak. I leant down to him and he said, Dada, why is no one taking any photos of me?
Oh.
It was quite upset by it. So it was quite overwhelming for the whole family, really.
So everybody got together. I know how hard it is to take anything with you. Just having gone, I went to Orlando for a con, and that was, fingers crossed, everything got there in one piece. But yeah, just having to take everything with you if you're wearing, and just like it's kind of nerve wracking because you're sitting on a train and you don't know If something gets snagged, and what do? You're in transit. There's really no turning back at that point. And you're coming with a group. You're
Yeah,
coming with
yeah.
your family, but then trying to keep everybody organized and together, and keeping track of where 5 and 7 are,
Oh,
and
yeah, but particularly
so
when you're
it's
closer to the
a
event,
ton.
yeah.
uh, but it did go very well. So it just sounds like it was a ton of fun.
Yes.
It was well received,
Mm,
and definitely you wanted to do more. So if we
mm.
go ahead, we can go all the way to December of last year to Dutch Comic Con.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that was the most recent for you, unless I'm mistaken, and we've squeezed one in
No, no, that's
between there.
that's the most recent. Yeah.
But how did that compare to London? Was it
Uh,
was it a bit smaller, a bit bigger? Was
it
it a different crowd?
it felt very different. It probably maybe just as big. It was a very different layout. It was hard to tell how big it was really. But there, the main stage, you had quite a big stage right in the middle of the hall, with the catwalk, and one of their main events there is the cosplayer catwalk. Um, so shortly after arriving, I went on the cosplayer catwalk, so where cosplayers take turn walking down. And originally, I was going to go with Scarlet Cosplay Ambition.
Hmm.
You may have seen her in my Instagram posts.
Yeah.
Done a few photos together as a Scarlet Witch. I'd met her earlier in the year at CCXP in Cologne, and so I arranged to meet her there, and we were going to do this catwalk together. We thought it would be a good idea to do it with Doctor Strange 2 coming out with the two characters. But by the time we ended up doing it, there were, I think, like 6 of us. It was a full of Avengers cast, and we came up with the plan of acting out the end game scene. And
Oh.
I walked on first, and I opened a portal for everyone else to walk through. And so that when I first walked on, the roars and the cheers from the crowd, it was deafening. It was unbelievable. I'd never experienced anything like that before. Um, so that compared to MCM was quite different.
Very wild. Yeah. So, and I guess just a question for my own sake, and I should have done a little bit more research on my end. So I do apologize, but if this
That's
does
okay.
kind of throw a little bit of a monkey wrench. But had you acted prior? Had you done much theater, or was
Not,
this kind of nothing?
no, at school as a
Mhm.
younger school kid, I was the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, we
And
see. We
that's
would have
about
gotten
it.
along. I was the scarecrow.
Oh, were
So
you?
yes.
Fantastic. Was that no
Uh,
brain?
yes. Well,
Sorry,
maybe, but I don't
I've, I've
know.
got no, I've got no heart. I can say that.
Uh,
So no, I've not really done any acting, um, but I feel like I'm getting into it now.
Yes. Well, and again, it's hard to tell. Like, that's why I wanted to ask the question at least, because it just seems like you're very natural on camera, and the ideas flow. You come up with so many different fun things to do on TikTok, and just
Mm.
how you come up with the scenes and the ideas. There's just a ton of creativity, and even with the cosplays, just being able to alter everything, it just seems very effortless.
I
Very
think.
cool.
Thank you. When I went through school, I kind of got to a point where was I going to go down a sort of scientific route, do the sciences, or was I going to go down an art route? And I decided I was going to do engineering at university. So um, my subjects for that, to get into that, were maths and physics, and
Yeah.
design technology was about the closest I got to something creative. And I left art behind. So for me, this is now a sort of creative channel for me. I've always had this creative side that I've been desperate to put to good use, and this is perfect for me now. I'm editing photos, I'm doing the videos, and yeah, a little bit of acting, I guess. So it's a way of me just to get everything out.
It's not just it just seems like, yeah, it seems very much like there's a lot of passion that goes into your work, and I'm sure that it's the same with engineering. There's probably a lot of passion that goes in.
Well, no,
The
I didn't end up doing engineering.
you didn't do it. Okay. It wasn't a passion, no.
No, I
Um,
hated it.
but with creating so much content, with work and family and everything that you have to balance, um, how do you do it? I guess the easy question is, just keeping everything together all at the same time. It seems, and I've heard it from other, just talking to Liz Wonder. Her name always comes up on the podcast.
Mm.
But just speaking with Liz Wonder, that sometimes there is a little bit of overwhelm there, with the comments, with just everything that you have going on in your day-to-day life, and people just not realizing, we're not actually superheroes when we dress up. It is imaginary. We are acting. Um, but sometimes the comments come through and there's just so much going on.
Mm.
I just wondered what your take was on all of that and your thoughts.
Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming. Initially, starting off with Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. For Facebook, I just had Instagram photos and posts feeding straight through into feedback into Facebook. But then I have to check both places for comments. Facebook tends to get a bit left behind. I think the actual platform I find really difficult to use.
Yeah, and it keeps changing, and yeah, it's just a sea of
The
things. It's just
comments
so
and
busy.
yeah, I find comments that were made weeks ago that I didn't see. So I keep it mainly to Instagram. Twitter, I started off doing quite a bit on Twitter. My plan with Twitter was that it would be like a day in the life of Cumbermatch or Benedict Cumberbatch, where I would, if he would come up in the news being at an event or something, then I would do a post pretending to be him in a funny situation at that event. So there was a post on Instagram in the early days when, what event did he go to? It was, I forgot what it was called now. But he turned up to an event in this white suit. Is it the Met Gala ball? What's it called? I can't remember now. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um, I do. How long ago was it? I think
This
this
was
maybe about
back
6 months ago, or was it
in
over a year? Because I do remember the
June.
white suit. I
Yes,
remember it was like a premiere of some kind, but
so it's where the theme was camp. So he turned up in this white suit, and I did a post on Twitter saying, I thought the theme was camping, and he's there with his camping gear and his white hats on. So the idea with Twitter was to do a funny take on events around his life, but that just got too much. He's a busy man, and I just can't keep up with that.
yeah,
So
he's everywhere.
yeah,
But funny enough, I don't think he's on social media.
not
He's
at all.
everywhere but social
No,
media.
no. So a lot of the sort of taglines to my profiles is Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't do social media, so I am. I'm kind of there as his replacement. But I've struggled on Twitter. Twitter, I've been less involved in that. So to answer your question, yes, it was all very overwhelming at the start. I tried to do everything, and I realized I had to cut back. I had to plan my timetable, plan the times I do things. I started off just doing stuff in the evenings, sort of
Mhm.
waiting till everyone's gone to the bed, even my wife, because she was finding it driving her a bit mad that I was always being my costume. I'd come up with an idea quickly, I was putting the costume on. But now I keep it to once a week, every Thursday. So like tonight, I do my TikToks. I've made sure that I can get ready quickly. I used to stick white on the side of my head with glue to do my wig, but now I've incorporated it into my wig so I can just stick it on.
It all goes on at the same time. Save
Yeah,
some time.
exactly. The beard I used to stick on. Had crepe wool and used to cut it and stick it on, and I spent
Oh
like
boy.
I spent like an
Trying to get it
hour,
right.
literally an hour, getting ready to do my Instagram posts. Now it's funny. In the last year, my beard's starting to grow a bit more. I'm 42 and I haven't been able to grow a beard until now. So now what I do, I won't shave for a week, and I still have to draw it on because I don't have enough. I don't have enough hair there. So now when I do my videos once a week, I just do a quick shave to get my beard right, draw it on, pop my wig on. It takes me like 15-20 minutes to get ready rather than an hour like it used to. And now I'm only doing it once a week, and she's happy with it. I can do it when she's around. She gives me ideas now and stands there laughing at me. So yeah, managing my time, having a schedule to it, and doing a live on TikTok on the Thursday evening as well. The fans are enjoying that. I'm enjoying it. So it's a happy bounce now, happy families.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, you even have you've even added a fitness regime to your busy schedule, and you're eating. I know there were a few posts about trying to pay attention to diet and exercise because of all of the energy that goes into everything that you do.
Yeah, well,
And I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to stay motivated and keep all this going. But you're doing it so well. It's all coming together, and I think it's really great that that you've got it almost down to a science where you can get it in one day. That's amazing. I'm always scrambling for things, you know.
it takes a bit of planning. I'm a bit of a daydreamer, so during the week I'll come up with ideas and I'll jot them down on my notepad. I'll keep an eye on other people's TikToks to get ideas. I don't like to follow trends though. It drives me mad. I will do them. I'll do my own take on them. But the ones I was doing tonight, I was kind of taking the mickey a bit out of some of them. Personally, the creative side of me, I don't like just doing the trend that everyone else is doing. I find it boring. I try and come up with my own ideas.
Well, and I find that it's not always about just trying to curate as many people to watch your post as possible, even if it's one of the warmed over things that's just going around and everybody's doing it. Sometimes if you zig instead of zag, it's just better. And I would prefer. I mean, and that's part of the podcast. If I plug the podcast while we're talking, that this is not really a space where I want to bring people in and just kind of go through a lot of mainstream. Like I really want it to be about the cosplayer story and what your experiences are, and how I can help the cosplayer community and give back to them and all of the work that they do. I mean, it's really about the impact that everybody has, and I think that sometimes it gets buried because of the fandoms, and we kind of get absorbed with the movies that are coming out and all these things. But there's just so much creativity, and there's so much work and effort, and there's just many, like, everybody realizing that you have to be a videographer, a cinematographer, a seamstress. There's all these different roles that you have, or hats that you have to wear. So the finished product is what people look at, but there's everything that goes into it. And I guess using that to try and segue a little bit into some of the cosplans and team ups, and we talked about the ideas that you've had for TikToks. You have over 100 videos, many of them team ups, just tons of creativity going into that. I just wondered if you might have a couple that stand out in your mind that you enjoy doing the most recently, or just overall.
Yeah, so I didn't get into doing TikToks until September, really. Somebody on Instagram said, have you seen TikTok? You need to get onto TikTok. There's other cosplayers on there, and you'd be perfect on it. So yeah, I went and filmed a couple of TikToks, and they went down pretty well. And there were a number of guys from Instagram that I follow that are on there. NY Tony Stark, for example.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when I was joining on there, he was racing towards a million, and I thought, yeah, this is a guy I got a duet with. if I want to get a good kickstart into my TikToks, then if I do some duets with people that are doing well, then that's going to help me. So, of course, I filmed some Tony Stark and Stephen Strange clips from Infinity War, and he kindly duetted those, and instantly, bam! I couldn't keep track of
It's
my
like
notifications.
wildfire.
So yeah, that TikTok certainly springs to mind. And then there've been a few sort of Marvel chains where people would comment my name in and say, you know, take part in this Marvel chain where we're all doing a dance or something. And there's one particular one. It's to a song by Lady Gaga. It's a cover version of it, where everyone's marching along, and then they cross their arms and drop them down, and they all change their costumes. So
Oh yeah, that's a great video. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
so
you've got 6 on there, I think.
there,
Like all of you, and it's all
yes. So
perfectly synchronized.
the problem with doing duets on TikTok, they sort of do them side by side, and the more people that duet, the smaller the people get at the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just downloaded them and just used a simple app to put them together in a grid format on the screen. So we had Jordan Johnson with his Spider-Man, and my Tony Stark. You see Nick, he's heading towards a million at the moment as well. So we had all these cosplayers on there, and yeah, I put it together in this grid format. I finished doing it like 1 a.m, I think, and I posted it and went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
when I checked it in the morning, it got to like 850,000.
Wow.
So that's the biggest one I've had to date. Thanks to the help of the other guys in the duet.
Oh, it was a really good idea too. So I mean, I think it's when you can keep things different like that, and it's more fun for the viewer. So
Yeah, I did another one just recently as well, a similar one. Didn't get as big as a reception, but it's still doing pretty well. And yeah, I enjoyed doing that. Again, it's a sort of creative side to it again. And then another one that comes to mind is Sherlock Holmes. Poor Sherlock. He doesn't get much attention on TikTok.
oh,
A
but he does
couple of
such
them.
a good job. It's always very good. I like all of our Sherlock
I,
TikTok.
yeah, I enjoy doing Sherlock. I know when I post TikToks of Sherlock, it's not going to get a big reaction, but I enjoy doing it. So I will still keep posting him. And one thing that I tried to do was a TikTok mini theatre production, where I came up with a number of snippets of sound from some of the episodes, and I think it was like 8 of them altogether, 15 seconds each. So you can do a maximum of 1 minute on a TikTok. So I had 2 acts, each with 4 scenes, and they needed different characters. So I posted a TikTok earlier on to warn people that this was coming, and I was looking for actors to duet each of the different videos. So there was a damsel in distress that had been kidnapped by a mafia boss, and Sherlock was going to rescue her. So I posted out my videos, and then quite a few people did duet them. And once I got those duets back together, I added them together to make these 2 acts. I really enjoyed doing that. Again, not a massive response, but it was something a bit different. I thought no one's ever tried doing this on TikTok before, actually coming up with a scripted set of sequential TikToks.
Yeah,
And I
and
really enjoyed doing that, and they enjoyed it.
I mean, the result was fantastic. I mean, it always goes really well when you do any team ups. Even with, I mean, I can't imagine like I'm me just trying to, as you can kind of see, I haven't quite got everything ready yet. But just trying to get on TikTok is, I think, a lot more difficult than people realize.
Hmm.
And then coming up with just idea after idea after idea and filming all of it and then editing everything and putting it on, and the coordination that you have to go through. I mean, just that's great. Like it's hard enough to do one on your own, with full costume, full makeup, scripted, anything like that. But and then we're going to bring other people in. We're going to try and get it all in a couple of takes, and hopefully it comes together, and it does. It's so well done.
Well, that's the
Very.
thing. If you come up with an idea for TikTok, if there is a trend and you want to jump on it, you have to do it there and then. And for me, I can't do that. Yeah, I could do, but I've got this strict schedule now where I'll only do it once a week on a Thursday. So I can't jump on it so quickly. Even if I wanted to, I've got to find time to get my costume on and makeup, and so I can't really do that.
Well, I could honestly, I could go on and ask you questions and questions and questions. It's all just, it's so interesting. It's such a unique, vision that you have for the characters that you portray, and just everything that you do, with cosplay. Um, Now, I guess I usually ask the guests three questions, so I have three questions for you. The
Mm.
last question's always the same. So yeah, it's a little bit like a game show, but there's no points, and the prizes are relatively small. But so my first question for you is, do you feel that the attention in cosplay is disproportionate between male and female cosplayers, as in that it's a little bit more difficult to to decide as a male character, to go to put yourself out there in cosplay. So part of that is that, the guys do have quite a bit more choices. I had an episode a while back where I kind of went through the stats. It's actually, it's 75-25. There's actually
Oh, really?
all the characters in DC and Marvel, only 25% of them are female. But there's almost a disproportionate amount, it seems, of female cosplayers versus male cosplayers. So
Hmm.
I wondered how you would, feel about answering a question about how to navigate those waters as a male cosplayer.
Um, well, I say to everyone, I get lots of people asking me for advice on cosplay. I keep reminding them I haven't been doing it for that long, um, but I do my best, and I just say to everyone, just go for it. Be whoever you want to be. It doesn't matter. Um, you go along to a Comic Con, and everyone is made to feel welcome. You can put as little or as much effort as you want to into a costume. Uh, no one's there laughing at you.
Hmm.
Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's there to have a good time, a fun time, and for male cosplayers, it's the same as female. There's no difference really. Just do it. And when you do go to Comic Cons, I think there's a pretty good mix from what I've seen, of male and female cosplayers. When you come to the likes of Instagram, I think it's a different world on there. There
Hmm.
it's all about photos,
Yep.
and I think it's easier then for girls to go and show off all their different costumes and makeup. Um, for a guy to show photos of their cosplay, it's like, yeah, this is me dressed as Batman.
Hmm.
um, I,
Yep. Here I am one more time.
yeah, exactly. I guess we're less used to sort of posing for the camera like that, and it does feel at first a bit uncomfortable. It's difficult to get into that. I'm certainly haven't been used to it, um, but I try and come up with as many different ideas as I can. Um, I think you also find that when you see the photos of girls on Instagram, they'll have the same costume a number of times, slightly different poses,
Hmm.
and the number of likes is unbelievable how many likes they're getting.
It can be quite staggering. Yes, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, even though Instagram is kind of trying to back away from likes, but you can, it's still very clear. I mean, there actually there are accounts that I've followed where I didn't realize that the numbers were so different. Like I just in my head, I just think, oh, well, they must have 20 or 30,000, and then I look and I'm like, oh. And it's usually a male cosplayer. I don't want to name any names, but it always feels like they're putting just as much effort into what they're
Yeah.
doing. But yes, it's just it seems like online there's a lot more attention going to female pictures, and but I don't think it's very representative of the effort and the energy and the passion that a male cosplayer can have in the same space. So
Yeah, definitely.
go follow the guys. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Support your brothers in
But
cosplay.
having said that, I've had some great support on Instagram. Uh, Particularly for Benedict Cumberbatch, he does have a big fan base. So maybe it's different for me compared to other male cosplayers because I'm getting people that are following me because they like Benedict Cumberbatch,
Mhm.
and I look like him. So
That does help
so
just a bit.
it does. And at times I do think like maybe it's a bit unfair on other cosplayers the fact that I do look like him. But as I've said, I try my best to get involved in the spirit of it.
My second question, it's a little bit shorter, and again, I do appreciate any length of answer. It's always, even if it is just yes or no. But who gave you? And we did get a little bit into this before, but who gave you the biggest push to do cosplay?
Mm,
Did you have a
uh,
lot of encouragement
Not
from
really.
one person? It's like no, it was actually me. I did. Like there was no cheerleader who said, "Oh, you should, do it, do it, do it, do it," and they kept
the,
nagging at.
the, just before I released the photos, um, it, I was sat with a group of people at work, and I'd shown them my photos, and it was like 2 or 3 people there that were like, "Yeah, you should do it. You should go and do it." And one of the girls said, "You should call yourself Cumbermatch." She came up with the name.
Oh, well, that's how it
So
all came
that's how it
together.
started. So yeah, we were coming up with names, and yeah, she came up with Cumbermatch, and so that's how that stuck. Um, that was the biggest group really. They were really egging me on to do it. Maybe they just wanted to make fun of me. I don't know.
Well, or well, now I'm sure that they all know when you post. They probably have notifications on all of their
Yeah.
phones when another video comes up. So my final question, and again, thank you, and I'll probably say this again, but thank you so much for taking the time to be on the cast. It's a small show. It's a trying to get things started, sort of bootstrap little place, and I really do appreciate the time, given the time difference, and uh, just taking the time to answer the questions and have a little conversation here with me on the Little Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary. But my big question is always, if you can make an impact on the world and create change for the better, what would it be and why?
Well, funnily enough, a few months ago, I was on holiday, and I thought, with being on the internet, having these social sites, if I become famous online, or if I get hundreds of thousands of followers, who knows? But if I get to a point like that, imagine the impacts that I could have on. Well, sorry, I'm stuttering a bit here.
No, no
there,
worries.
what got me thinking? What got me thinking about this was the ice bucket challenge a
Mhm.
few years ago, which went viral around the whole of the internet, and hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds were raised there, all from this little challenge. And I thought, how can I do something like that? And I thought, well, it's actually one of the reasons why I started my social sites, started doing this. I thought, I'll tell you what, if I get these sites going, then maybe I could get some kind of trend going around the world to make some kind of impact on the planet. And my idea was that you do a video clip, or you share a post of something that you've done today to save the world. And I actually bought the domain name I Saved the World Today.
Oh, wow.
I thought this is always a plan that, how can I promote this website, this a trend to everyone does something. If everyone does something different in their day-to-day life and show it online in the same way that people were doing this ice bucket challenge, then maybe together everyone can make some kind of change and difference in the world. And you kind of see that with TikTok, actually. I think TikTok is a perfect platform for doing something like that. This was before TikTok when I had this idea. And the TikTok audience is growing still massively. And so I'd like to, I'll probably do something about that soon. Get some other influencers on board to do that.
Well, I definitely look forward to it. However it ends up coming together, it's going to be amazing. So where can we find you, and where can we support you online? I know we can find you on TikTok, but is there anywhere else that that we can find you and that we can support you?
Yes, I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Cumbermatch. Instagram is the main one really for images, and a few of my TikToks. If you don't have TikTok, I'll put the best of them on Instagram, and Twitter as well, where I'm the Cumbermatch. I'm sure the person with the name Cumbermatch is probably getting a bit fed up of being tagged in posts. I keep checking if they've dropped it so I can get it myself. But yeah, on Twitter I'm the Cumbermatch, where occasionally I'll try and post something different on there, particularly for the Benedict Cumberbatch followers.
Yes. Oh well, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. I know the time always goes so fast, and
Yes,
I certainly yeah. It's I'm sorry to keep you up so late, but
my pleasure.
You've been listening to Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary podcast with the Cumbermatch. Thank you so much, everyone, and good night.